Hey everybody, welcome to the show. We are here as we come together every other Friday to discuss the yet another chapter in the classic book by Ursula Le Guin. Of course,
It's called a novel, Steve. Novel. The word's novel.
we're talking about chapter 8 of the Dispossessed tonight. Okay, that's what we're here to do.
You seem a little disappointed at being made fun of, Steve. I thought,
I can take it.
Gotten to expect it by now.
I can take it. Let me have it. Give me all you got. Give me all you got. I can take it.
I feel like an announcer on one of those infomercials from like the early 90s, or maybe it would have been the late 90s when people they couldn't pose as real television anymore, and they were on at like 2:30 in the morning. They would like come on at the half hour and go for an hour.
Yes.
And then there would be another one. But wait, there's more.
There's more. Exactly.
Radical bacon. I love that. Novels aren't quite as novel as they used to be.
I was trying to see my way into a pun to a novel pun, but I couldn't get there. So congratulations, Radical Bacon, for getting there.
She did what you couldn't, Steve.
They.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you for correcting me. They did what you couldn't.
I correct you out of love, because I have made the same mistake many times, and I have been corrected.
I have not made that particular mistake that many times, because they have clarified their pronouns only recently, and it's something to celebrate.
Absolutely, it is. It's a wonderful thing to celebrate. Yeah, and some random geek just corrected you too, I guess, because the chat is catching up to the video. And Geek is like right there,
because also I recently said that they corrected their pronouns recently, and then some Radical Bacon said they did. I'm like, yeah, didn't they?
They sure did.
Oh, but yeah, that's awesome. And some Radical Bacon. I'm glad to see everybody, but I was particularly glad to see you, because Scoot Kitten, the actual humans are talking here, because I followed that link that you gave me to the information about the early, let's say, Georgia state flags. So that was, and then there was I did some more digging, and what I had not realized that what I generally think of, now I knew the name of the flag that's often used as the Confederate flag it's actually the Virginia battle flag, but I thought that was what the stars and bars referred to.
Yeah, no, stars and bars is different.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the stars and bars? That's not what the stars and bars look like. No, so apparently, but stars and bars is a better ring to it, let's be honest, than the Virginia battle flag. Nobody talks about the Virginia battle flag, and when they talk about the stars and bars, the Virginia battle flag is what they're talking about. I mean, because that's the one that's on top of the General Lee, and is on top of the General Lee?
Yeah, on the roof.
It's on the top, and then the O1's on the side.
Yeah.
See, I'm pretty good with this stuff, although I don't think I've ever watched a full episode of The Dukes of Hazzard. If
you watch one, you'll have seen them all.
Yeah, but I mean,
actually, honestly,
although I will say there are reasons to watch, at least.
Would these reasons be related to John Schneider and Tom Wopat in tight-fitting blue jeans?
These reasons would be to various individuals in tight-fitting blue jeans.
Various. That's indeed Daisy as well.
Yeah. Wait. I noticed that you didn't talk about Bo and Luke Duke and Daisy.
Okay, Catherine Bach. Catherine Bach. Consistency is important. Consistency is important. But yeah, honestly, the best part of any Dukes of Hazzard episode is the opening theme song by Waylon Jennings. That's about it. I mean, and this is as someone who used to like the show. Like, I have no, other than the fact that it's it's about, two guys who drive a car with an incredibly racist flag on the top. And it glorifies Southern culture, which I absolutely fucking detest. I have nothing against it.
Everything about Southern culture is bad.
No, not everything about any culture is bad, but the general, the Southern pride thing, thing makes me want to gag and throw up. And then, it's just, it's horrific.
Well, in February, let me tell you, I have a lot of literal Southern pride. I gloat about that.
Because you are closer to the equator.
I was like on Wednesday oh my God, on Wednesday, as much as I love live streaming with you, it was a challenge because, my God, Wednesday, the forecast was wrong. It said it was going to get up to 67 and be mildly cloudy, but it got up to 72.
I remember you
remember
waved it in my face quite enthusiastically. It's 72 here.
It was so nice. And I went outside and I went for a walk.
And do you remember?
Even in the shade with a little bit of a breeze, where I was like, it's chilly. My short sleeve T-shirt. I'm a little bit cool.
And do you remember what I told you the temperature was here?
Was it, Steve? Was it 31 or 33?
It was 31. It was 31 degrees Fahrenheit.
It hadn't quite made it up to freezing.
No, and it snowed a little more. So,
well, I will say, it hasn't been quite as nice today.
Oh, really?
It was kind of gloppy and overcast, and only in the mid to upper 40s.
Oh, what a terrible shame!
There.
What a terrible shame.
I know.
Oh, boy.
Yet it's still nicer than where you are.
I'm glad you can enjoy the weather.
I'm trying. I'm trying not to gloat, but it's just difficult.
I'm very glad. Listen, I am very, very glad, and I tell you this as someone who cares about you a great deal. I am very glad that you get to enjoy the weather. The one nice thing about the part of the country you live in.
That's not the only nice thing. There's food. Oh my gosh, the food around here.
And actually, I've seen you show me pictures. Some of the scenery around there is gorgeous as well. So pretty much the only thing
that's related. It's geographical.
The only thing not nice about it is the people. But then again, that's that's the same for about where I live too. So in fairness, it's just that Maryland doesn't have a regional culture built around excusing slavery.
I'm saying I am absolutely trying. It's just. It's so much fun to pick on Steve even for things that are outside, completely out of.
It has nothing to do with me personally.
Absolutely pick on you when you get things wrong. I mean, or just if now I won't pick on you for your hat because your hat's awesome, but I will find valid. I will find because of course, well, if I picked on you about your hat and pretended that it wasn't, then I would be wrong, and that is something that I try very hard to avoid.
You do like being right.
I do. Yes, I'm angry. 8 minutes in and Dana mentions food.
Take a drink. Speaking of 8.
Oh,
come
beautiful
on.
Segue.
Thank you so much. This is what I do. We are talking about chapter 8.
This is why you are
Go ahead.
Big Shot.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The live chat widget is obscuring the plaque, but it is here. Yeah. So
Drew points out another advantage that you have over me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a member of Congress. Yeah, but that's If honestly, I'm not too cocky about that because were it not for gerrymandering, I would probably have a member of Congress just as bad, if not worse than yours. Because
thank you, Democratic gerrymandering.
Thank you, Democratic gerrymandering that allows me to have a decent member of Congress instead of a crackpot conspiracy theorist who took part in an insurrection and then tried to act like she had no idea what was going on. She was like, "Wait a minute, what? No, I had no idea about that."
I mean, is that better or worse than if she'd been like, what? It was, of course I took part in that. Obviously, as a true American, I wanted to get rid of the current American government.
Yes, as a patriotic American. Elect me to the government so I can overthrow it.
Speaking of governments and
or the lack thereof.
So
go ahead.
Actually, I forgot I wasn't actually where I needed to be because I was at the beginning of chapter 9. That was one.
Oh yeah, see, I always
at the end.
Because I read an ebook of it, and so I always have to jump back a chapter when we start the show because it's always like it was at chapter 9 when I opened it, and I was like, oh no, that's wrong.
Go back to the beginning of chapter 8.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about chapter 8. This is another of the flashback chapters. It takes place in Shevik is 30 at this point when this chapter takes place. And of course he is back on Anarish with Takver, his partner, and it's the good old days.
It really is
the days of wine and roses, although they don't have either of those on Anarish. But
what they're doing, they start thinking back, reflecting on their 20s, much as we were doing when they were in the chapter and they were like 20.
yeah, totally. They're like we were so young back then.
Now they're 30 and they're saying, we were so young, and I'm like, you're still young, what are you talking about?
you whippersnappers.
Oh my goodness, these kids these days.
Yeah, I know, with their hula hoops.
What you gonna do with them, Steve?
And their jump ropes and their jacks and
their
their slinkies, their hopscotch.
Oh my goodness, Joe, and that's showing my age. I see MTG, I'm like, Magic Gathering. What? Oh, got it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, got it. Magic the Gathering. I'm thinking they probably do have a card for that. Break down walls. I play that.
So it would not be the Marjorie Taylor Greene card, apparently.
Apparently not. She does not have enough power to actually break down walls. So I don't have anything. My first note on it is that desultorily is a fun word.
Yes, I thought of you when I read that word, because I thought, that's going to be another Dana word, because Le Guin has this wonderful way of using uncommon words, but in a way that doesn't sound like showy or
showy or show offy or
show offy.
Wait, it starts with ostentatious.
Ostentatious, yeah, exactly.
Do you know where I first saw that word in print?
No, where did you?
In the Babysitters Club.
Aww.
Yes, and because it was a book narrated, where Christy was the principal character, and she's of course the narrator, and it's when she first sees the entrance into the home of the man that her mother, I think at the time, is dating, Watson. Ostentatious, which had been and she knows this because it had been a vocabulary word for her in 7th grade. I love that, it means showy and show offy and ornate, and it was everything that Watson's foyer was. Our foyer had 2 chairs and a mirror. So-and-so's foyer had 2 chairs and a piece of framed artwork. Watson's had a fountain, an actual fountain with a goldfish spouting water, something like that. That's not verbatim. I'm sorry, I'm a little off, but yes. It doesn't come across that way. It's just like it just comes across as, like when you're watching a movie and it's got like actors in it, but it's Knives Out.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
Knives Out. It's like, holy heck, that cast. And then they're all just having so much fun. Yeah. And it's just a delight to watch, even though they're all being terrible to each other.
Well, I think it's a lot of it is with the way she writes. The overall voice of the book isn't like that. If the overall voice of the book was really purple and really,
here
then
and there, just enough to be like, wee.
Exactly.
And Radical Bacon, who has a foyer these days, apparently Watson Brewer. But you have to go back and read the books that are published 20, 30, 40. Well, it can't be 40 years ago, because they were I think they were contemporary when I was, or shortly thereafter when I was reading them. They were published mid-ish 80s, I guess.
A long ass time ago.
Unfortunately for us. A long time ago. I can still remember when.
Don McLean is going to send me a cease and desist, and it's going to be your fault.
That's okay. I think I was sufficiently off key.
No, he's second. They let him get away with that.
That's not getting him any hits there.
No, he's nobody's. Actually, if anything, it'll send people screaming to their music app of choice to hear the original version.
Exactly. There you go, Don McLean.
Thanks. You're welcome, Don. You know what? I think you owe Dana some money for that. You probably got some extra listens off of that.
No. It'll go to your ad revenue, right?
Well, then I'll pass it along to you.
Oh well, thank you. 1986. Thanks, Radical Bacon. Yeah, that was just about right.
There you go. The year the Challenger exploded. What a great year.
Yeah. Because it would, yeah. Those were some of the books that I think I took along on when we were out of the country.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's that. And yeah, and that was my introduction to science fiction because the Harper Hall trilogy, which I think I mentioned on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was the last time we did Ask Way, but
you mentioned it recently, yeah.
Yeah. That was one of the set of books that we had on the library at the mission.
Yeah. Cool. And Cardinal Doomsday, American Pie is unironically one of my favorite songs too. But I will still ruthlessly make fun of it because I destroy that which I love. But I genuinely love that song.
Oh, Cardinal Doomsday, you were so young back then. 22 is so young. So let's see. So the interesting, so they talk where it says it had become a partisan of Bedup's ideas.
Yes.
And but somebody else, she uses the expression "I'll bet you," and somebody kind of jumps on that.
Yeah, like what does that mean?
They're like, "Can we take the conversation another direction?" And it tells us that Bedup was doing laps. He's running.
He's trying to, he's getting in shape or trying to lose weight or something.
But the only reason that matters is my note is that Bedup would not have let the conversation go in another direction. He'd be like, actually, we're going to talk about this, about the problems in our society today. Oh, they're still so young. Oh, bless them. Bless them.
And
I was talking about that sort of idealism about my students because today was a planning day for us. And so the teachers were there and there ended up being several of us. And we ended up having another meeting, which was longer than either the actual full teacher meeting or my department meeting. It was just like a teacher who came by because actually her daughter's in my class, and then another teacher who came by looking for this teacher and had to let her know. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm like, we are just talking about like education and da-da-da.
You just kept adding people. Like people just kept coming in. Hey, what are you guys talking about?
The idealism and just how much you just want to wrap them up and give them a big hug because they're like, what do we need to do about our society? And I'm like, you're 15. You're so cute. And you have hope for our society. Thank God you have hope. Oh, some random geek's like, I was around.
Yeah, I was 6. I just like Jalorn there. I was 6 in 1986.
Oh.
But yeah, so this leads them into a little bit of a discussion about language, and they talk about how Iotic has words that Pravik doesn't have, and how they're not.
Is a constructed language, which of course
right. Pravik is
really
the language. Yeah, it's the language that was invented by the settlers to Anarish so that they would have their own language.
Yeah, it's sort of, but also to sort of like Newspeak does in 1984. That they chose not to have religious swears.
Yes, right.
Like they chose that, and Radical Bacon, just as we're starting to talk about 1984, so there's a little bit of a delay there. There's a 1984 crowd.
Hey.
Which I saw that and I'm like, yeah, I like the ideas. I think there are issues with the construction of the characterization and the plot. But and then I was like, no, that's not what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting because like this isn't presented as like a bad thing. And of course, the real world has one well, of course, then their constructed language is fiction, but then the one it makes me think of course, is Esperanto. It hasn't really caught on, but it has a following.
It's caught on more than other constructed languages. I mean, except maybe arguably like something like Klingon or something that is spoken by people. I was thinking,
I'm like, because there are some real true believers for Klingon.
Callie, who was my guest on an earlier conversation stream, they speak Klingon so much that they just started a new Twitter account just for speaking Klingon, because they realized they were speaking Klingon so much on their regular account that they were like, okay, I'm gonna start a separate account.
Let's just have a separate one
for speaking Klingon, and they're really like super fluent in it. Like I owned a copy of the Klingon dictionary when I was like 15. I read maybe like the opening, like the introduction to it, and learned a couple of phrases, and I was like, yeah, forget this. Like this. It was like a formative experience in my nerddom. I was like, I am not this kind of a fan.
Okay, it's self-definitive. That's great. Yeah. So Radical Bacon, did you see they had like a series revival like on Netflix? I think it was, because I was able to watch it. So it wasn't. I don't think it was Hulu. Although if it was long enough, if it was a year or two ago, we had Hulu for like 1 year. But yeah, and the series was really good. And I guess it didn't get picked up for another season, but I really, really enjoyed the way that they updated the series and made it current. But at the same time, they were still able to some of the things about like text messaging and things like that make it not work as much. The fact that they had like they sat around the phone. Like they got together at Christy's house, or no, they got together at Claudia's house and waited for the phone to ring and things like that. And the meetings having to be at a certain time. And, they couldn't just set up like a web page and say, okay, just, send us messages when you want a babysitting job and we'll set it up. They actually had meetings and stuff. And so they came up with like in-story reasons for why it would work. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Oh, Cardinal Doomsday can speak Esperanto. And the one thing that I noticed through this was that Shevik says that hell means the place of absolute evil, and Takver says, oh, the manure depot in Round Valley. And the way that she equates the word evil with unpleasantness and not malevolence, which for us is inherently part of the meaning of the word, not just the definition, but I mean that's part of what it means. If you take that out, in American English, that's not typically how it's used. Of just like we wouldn't describe a garbage dumper or a pile of manure as evil,
right?
Like that's not what it means. So it's really interesting. Yeah, Radical Bacon or some kind of social media or something like that, Now, but see, Radical Bacon, I don't know if you could do it with Discord, because I guess it would work, because the parents who are the right age to have kids that are young enough to need babysitters would probably be on Discord, I would guess.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Well, it's interesting that
because my parents are a little older, the parents that I deal with, because their kids have Discords. But and some of the students that I've had previously who have become parents are at that age. So anyway.
Well, I thought it was interesting. It's when they say that they talk about like hell being like the garbage dump or the manure pile or whatever. That made me think, and I just looked it up real quick to make sure I was remembering correctly. It's kind of a biblical allusion, because the place called Gehenna, which is often used like synonymously with hell, but depending on what you're talking about or how you're interpreting it, it's not exactly like, it's not the same as hell, but it's like a place where the damned go, or where people go if they don't get into heaven or whatever. And it was named after a place on the outskirts of Jerusalem that was thought to be like a cursed place. So the idea that it wouldn't be there's a definition of it that is not spiritual, but that is Sheol. Cardinal Doomsday mentioned it's an actual physical place that it's associated with. So when they talk about the word in this conversation in chapter 8, it made me think of that. That like, well, what's the worst place? And they don't think in spiritual terms because they don't really have that in their culture. They think of, well, what's the worst place here that you could go to? Yeah.
And it's they're still thinking in terms of personal experience though. Mm-hmm. Because there had been hard times before, and they don't talk about some of the places where there hadn't been, because we get to that later in this chapter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really. And Joe McClory also talks about greedy instead of malevolent, and thinking about the harm. And there are, I think that's also that's why I specified in American English typical usage, because there are languages in which and evil refers more to the harm done than the intent, regardless, right. Not necessarily regardless of intent, but it's the harm is more of an issue than the intent to harm per se.
Charles Chapman, Sybil's office is the worst place.
And Colonel Doomsday, not only Norse hell, but also the Dante, once you get down
Inferno,
to the way into hell.
Yeah, it's frozen.
It's like frozen block of ice.
It's frozen, yeah.
So, but they are coming up upon one of the challenging times in NRSC history.
There's going to be a terrible, terrible drought.
Yes. I did talk for cusses, and she uses profiteering as a cuss word.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
So I mean, they do. I mean, but it shows like it's interesting because that's sort of one of the videos that I'm planning for further off when there are changes in my work situation and I can relax a little bit. Also, I forgot to mention this. Okay, so Gehenna, of course, is also a Vampire the Masquerade reference. So they took that one. But it's okay. It was religious first, which is why they took it. But the idea of I think I noted it over here. Where did I note it? Where did it? I swear to goodness that I talked about swearing in this chapter, and I thought it was right here where they were talking about Provic and Iotic and Damn and Hell, about swearing being scatological versus profane. Mm-hmm. I thought that was in my notes.
I remember us talking about it. It seems like we've talked about it before, and I think
more than once. So I may be remembering.
It came up recently. I remember, but yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Bump. I'm ignoring the cat, and he is just completely offended. Nope, I don't see it in my notes for this chapter, so I must be remembering all the way back.
Oh well.
That's okay. Please forgive me. Rotten profiteering boots. Why can't we make a decent pair of boots? Because then somebody might put them on somebody's neck forever and ever and ever, according to Orwell.
Yes.
And that would just be the worst.
So yeah, they haven't. It's been a very, very long time since they got any rain.
And Sybil is using that as an excuse not to print or not to.
Yes, because everything is very, very strictly rationed.
Yes.
Because everything takes resources, and they have very, very few limited resources, and so no printing unless it's absolutely necessary. And Sybil is using that as an excuse because Shevik has written his principles of simultaneity, his sort of signature work, and he's like, hey, can we publish this? And Sybil's
like, well, here's and I circled this. He's like, the critique that Shevik's just sitting there like in the dark, and Takver's like, don't sulk because then I'll cry, and I'm tired of crying all the time because I'm pregnant.
Yeah, that's another thing. Takver's pregnant.
Run with me, and I think, maybe Charles Chapman, maybe that's it. But he says the critique he'd written on the table, the critique that Sybil has written is on the table, and egoistic divagation from this solid area of principles can result in a sterile spinning of impractical hypotheses. And egoistic divagation, I'm like, I circled that and wrote, ooh, them's fighting words.
Yeah, I mean that's basically
you're egoizing Shevek, and Shevek's like, you hypocritical, I think, asshole, because they talk. I mean, she talks about the manure being
there's a excremental.
Not exactly.
So I think calling someone an asshole would be considered an insult in this culture.
Still an insult, at least.
Yeah.
If not, would it count as swearing? We don't know, but definitely insulting. So, and then she says, well, "What you gonna do?" And he says, "There's nothing to do." I wrote bollocks. And she does say, we'll print the book, form a printing syndicate, learn to set type, and we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll do it ourselves. Let's put on a show.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, this is like the opposite of this is a scarcity.
This is an all scarcity society.
Yeah, they're like, it's funny because, I mean, they're like the opposite of Star Trek, because they did go through space, but then they stopped.
And they were like, we don't have very much stuff. We better.
We have like the opposite of stuff. We have not stuff. And so, paper's at minimum ration, which I'm like, paper has to be less rationed, say, than because of the tree plantations, which they need. I mean, because it's not just in terms of paper.
Yeah, they use those for everything. Yeah, they make food out of it. They make clothes out of it. The holum trees, they use those for like everything.
Yes,
so,
but also, they're important for their terraforming in terms of the atmosphere and the way that they interact with the soil and things like that. So important. But no non-essential printing. So I marked that and I said, who determines essentiality? Because that seems to put that person, that seems authorial.
Well, yeah, I had that thought. I had that thought about the whole concept of rationing everything. I mean, obviously they need to do it in order to survive.
Right.
But you would think that there would have to be some point at which a decision has to be made, and how is that decision made, and who makes that decision?
She may avoid it by having that go through like DivLab or something.
Right. Yeah.
And essentially I said, obviously this is pre-internet. There are limits to the conceptualization of what computers can do. Like, obviously, her computers are very powerful, but she's still thinking in terms of like databases and things like that.
Right. Not in terms of
communication,
graphical interface,
what we're doing.
like artificial intelligence. Yeah. Nothing remotely like that.
Yeah. Some random geek, it went the other way around because, I'm in Georgia, and that there sounds like a hierarchy. We ain't too keen on that.
That there sounds like a hierarchy. You long way from home, boy.
Look, fellas, we don't want no trouble now.
You just take your authoritarianism and your profiteering, and you get on out of here.
You're moving into West Virginia.
Go on now, get.
Now
you
Georgia
just take.
Is a bit broader, but not quite as more movement in the lips.
More movement in the lips.
There you go.
Thank you. Y'all just take your profiteering and get on out of here now. We don't want you kind around here.
There you go, Steve. Just slow it down a mite, and you got yourself a Georgia accent.
Folks around here getting mighty unsettled.
We're having to wait. That's nothing to do with the book. Shevek said bitterly, I'd as soon share you with him as that book. And I wrote, egoistic much? Yeah, exactly. Some random geek. That's what I said.
I am closer to West Virginia.
He went west instead of south. So.
Yeah. But Takver is the one who comes up with the brilliant plan to get the book past Sybil and published. She says, just let him sign on as a co-author. You know he'll publish it then.
No, Shevek does not want to do this.
That's not what I want. He didn't write it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. And Radical Bacon, I would not flirt with you. I am a married lady. Radical Bacon. You are absolutely charming. But I was so excited that you were here because I was like, yes, Stars Mars, I want to talk about that. And I was so appreciative. But no, I was playing with an accent. So
perish the thought.
No, my way of flirting is to, come up to somebody and say, hey, you're hot.
Very direct.
Yeah, none of this, I can be playful and bantering, but that's not flirting.
That's not flirting, yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe it is, but it's not supposed to be. And then that gets back to
but it's not supposed to be.
That gets back to words in their intent. Some random geek. I noticed that you said that capitalist is an insult the way you use it, but I want to be very clear on this. Words have meaning apart from their intent. They have a history of use, and that matters.
Indeed. That sounds familiar. That sounds like it sounds similar to a public statement I heard recently.
Really?
I know. It's weird, right? Just totally random.
Odd that. So later on, it mentions that Sabul had influence in the press, and I'm like, why? Nobody likes him. How does he have any influence? Everybody thinks he's trash. Why does he have influence? I don't get it. I don't understand.
But yeah, she eventually talks him into it because she uses the example of their child.
Yes.
And she says, look, because he says, this book is me. This book is a part of me. I can't bear to let Sabul share credit for it when it's my work. And she says, what about the baby we're having? We want to keep the baby and be parents and raise it. But what if something happened so that the only way the baby would survive would be if we handed it off to the nursery and let them raise it?
What if it had some kind of medical condition
that
we were unprepared, and did not have sufficient resources to deal with, but the nursery could.
Yeah, would you keep the baby and have it die, or would you give it up and have it live?
Struggle and suffer and die.
Yeah.
But you would get to keep it for as long as it actually lived. He's like,
I love his response because his initial instinctive response is I don't know. And then he walks that back and says, yes, of course. Like like he thinks about it. He's like, what am I saying? Yes, if it was a baby, of course I would do that. But he's still not sure when it comes to his work. But eventually she talks him into it, and that's what happens. Sabul changes his mind about the value of the work once he is allowed to become a co-author. And it turns out, actually, there's a lot of value in this work.
Oh, Radical Bacon, grammar is a myth. That is, and you're like, no, grammar is a social construct. Grammar is a myth. Really, exactly. I would be really curious about the professor's explanation of in what way grammar is a myth. The use of that word is intriguing. Is really interesting.
Yeah, because clearly it's not.
Well, but some of it's going to depend on how you define myth. If you define it really loosely as in something that people, accept without question, when there's not actually a whole lot of factuality behind it, there are sort of allegorical ways in which the word myth works. And
I guess
Jalam's reading of Sabul is really good here too. Yeah, he knows what makes people uncomfortable, and he uses that to his benefit.
Oh, definitely. I think that's definitely the kind of person he is. Yeah, for sure. And that's how he gets what he has. That's why he has the influence that he has,
and that's why nobody likes him.
Yeah, nobody likes him, but also nobody wants to deal with him. So
because they don't like him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess, it comes down to, what I was talking with this parent and what I often talk with my students about, and what is part of what I value, it comes down to understanding and self-awareness, being aware of what is important to you, and then acting in accordance with what you truly do value, understanding yourself and what's important to you. And it's just interesting that the person that Sabal it has become doesn't care about having healthy relationships with others. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, that's kind of unfair, but I mean, people obviously like that in our society certainly exist. And I think, I don't feel like Le Guin is saying that, that it's just human nature, that some people are just that way. I think she's saying that there's no society that's going to be so perfect that everyone develops into a healthy, well-adjusted person. Right, there are going to be some people who have bad experiences, and based on those experiences and the choices they make, they become nasty, unpleasant people that nobody likes. And they're, oh gosh, that's depressing.
Yeah.
Nobody. So Tockford starts going into labor, but I love her statement. You might go fetch the midwife. Tell her the contractions are 4 or 5 minutes apart, but they're not speeding up much. So,
she's very calm about the whole thing. Like 4 or 5 minutes apart. Oh God,
the baby.
It's like I pictured the I Love Lucy episode where Lucy goes into labor, where they have like the nice calm, rational, like rehearsal where everybody knows what to do and everybody has their role to play. And, like Ethel's going to call the hospital and Ricky's going to get Lucy's coat and Fred's going to hail the cab. And then when Lucy actually comes out and says, hey, it's time to go, they all completely lose their shit. Nobody knows what, nobody knows who's supposed to do what. And yeah.
Hey, bye. Oh, no.
Make the mashed potatoes, I have to run the beaters for a couple minutes.
Oh, then wait. Is that okay to wait?
Sure.
Okay. Gonna have to wait for dinner because it's noisy. But that's okay.
It's definitely okay with me.
Well, you can. Did you already have dinner?
No.
You're just. I'm
waiting until after the show. Yeah.
Wait. Well, I will wait till after the show with you then. Aww. Besides,
solidarity.
Sorry. That's like the name, almost the name of a romance novel, Solidarity and Celery.
Yeah, it should be. It should be like a Jane Austen novel.
He can't find a doctor or a midwife, and he's like, something happens.
It's like they're out and they didn't even leave a note to say where they were.
What if someone needed them like me? Yes. And then there's a baby.
Yeah, the baby comes.
Oh, and I love that. Just the description. And he's trying to figure out and he's like, he can't figure out what's going on. And okay, the midwife's like, okay, that's all we need. And he's like, and Tucker goes, I want to wash.
Yeah.
And, okay, help her clean up. And wah, 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 said another voice. Or probably, I don't know. It's just W-A-W. Wah,
yeah,
wah,
wah, wah, wah.
And yeah. But and Charles Chaplin, it totally makes sense. First time dad, bless his little heart. And, you just,
yeah. And he takes to fatherhood pretty quickly,
So... And then
yeah, I don't know what you have next, but I do want to I want to mention the like the little nursery rhyme that he makes up about physics when he's bouncing the baby on his knee.
Before bouncing the baby, I think.
Yeah.
I have a note. The monogamy and the partnership. Though it might seem that her insistence on freedom to change would invalidate the idea of a promise or vow, in fact, the freedom was what made the promise meaningful. Mm-hmm. A promise is a direction taken, a self-limitation of choice.
Right.
I thought that was just well put. And then now I will say, No disapproval applied to any sexual practice of any kind except the rape of a child or woman. And that was interesting.
Yeah. Rape all the men you want.
Yeah. The idea, and I'm like, hello, 1974 paradigm, and also I also noted that it specifies rape, and and when you told me, I think Emerleon, who sent you that article? The article that you
Emerlion sent it. Yeah, about the assault. Yeah, which we haven't mentioned yet, but you want to mention.
When you told me, you said, hey, there's an article about the rape scene, and I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's not technically. I guess it depends on how you define rape.
I don't know was that how it was described to you?
I think that's what I called it. I think that was just my description. But yeah, strictly speaking, maybe it wasn't a rape scene, but it was an assault.
Well, I mean, like in terms like the in discussion, not so much legally, but discussion about and especially politically about abortion, they'll refer to, quote, murdering babies, and I'm like, murder is a legal definition. Let's be really clear on this. Even if you think that that an actual person is involved, which legally not, but even murder is a legal definition that carries is a specific type of killing. Mm-hmm. It's not all killing is murder. So yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Emily. But I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry you have bad power dynamics, but I'm glad you're here. Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, that here there's no mention of. One would think that if rape's not okay, that unwanted sexual advances would equally not be okay before they got to that point.
You would think. So,
and it's interesting because this is after the chapter where there is sexual assault. So, IDK. And then talking. So we're in the tough times to survive. I underlined to survive, to make a go of life. And Honoresti knew he had to be ready to go where he was needed and do the work that needed doing.
Right.
I underlined that and I wrote, "You have to trust the computer."
Yeah, exactly.
And then a little while later, it is useless work that darkens the heart, which I think is is an anti-capitalist ideal, and definitely anarchy among other systems follows that.
Work should have meaning.
Oh, some random geek, I bet they made an interesting face in addition to possibly some interesting remarks. The delight of the nursing mother, of the scholar, the successful hunter, of the good cook, of the skillful maker, of anyone doing needed work and doing it well. It's now interesting to me that when I read that I noticed that scholar does not have an adjective in front of it.
Yeah.
But the successful hunter, the good cook, the skillful maker, the scholar. Because scholar was the one that I circled and I marked scholar by choice, because let me tell you, I refer to my students as scholars, and they do not always demonstrate delight in their scholarship. not all the time.
They are involuntary scholars. They are compulsory scholars.
They are, yeah. So they are compulsory. I mean, especially given that I take, it's not just compulsory for them to be at school. It's compulsory for them to take English too. Not necessarily with my class per se,
but somebody,
some of them, as we get towards the end of the semester, are like, I'm not doing my grade's too low. I'd have to really bust my tail to get it up, and just not worth it. I'll just take it again with a different teacher. I'm like, okay.
I'm cashing this one in. I'm taking it again with somebody.
Nope. And I say, well, that's your choice. I just want you to know that you are not past, it is still a possibility, but the follow through on that is going to depend on you. And also, I'm going to let your parent / guardian / a legal adult who's legally responsible for you that I can actually get in touch with. Oh, Lordy. Some random geek, you say it's a compliment. For me, it's it is complimentary, but it's also aspirational. I say that to remind them to think of themselves that way. You know, to think of what you are doing as I mean, they think of the word scholarship as money you get to go to school. And I'm like, no, scholarship is the attitude of, you know, curiosity and exploring. And I'm like, that's what scholarship is, the willingness to question the information that you have and to look for more. Does it corroborate it or counter it? And in what way? How can you figure this out? And usually it is met with patience and, you know, it's usually received pretty well. But the scholar by choice, definitely one of the bonuses to teaching honors is they are at that level by someone's choice, not always theirs, but Charles, I've heard, or you know, I can already read. Why do we have reading standards? I'm like, obviously not well enough, given the things that I've heard you talking about.
Well, you know, it reminds me of the John Mulaney bit where he's complaining about how when his university sends him like fundraising emails or letters,
I already gave you money.
He mentions like you might say that I already gave you $120,000 to earn a degree in English. That's right. I gave them all that money to earn a degree in a language I already speak.
Knew. Oh my goodness. Oh, some random geek. I got another book at the library. This one, I'm so excited. I'm almost done with the Stacey Abrams book, and I liked it so much. It used to be Minority Leader. What's it called now? Where did it go? It's around someplace. Anyway, it's the Stacey Abrams memoir / book. I don't really know what to call it. Leading from the Outside, which I'm almost done with. And I got this one, Invisible Women, and it's about how quite often studies focus on male participants and or don't account for gender in the results, and most of the participants are male, and how that can skew data. And it's just really excited to begin it. And then so anyway, they're remembering as you have notes on the nope.
Well, I just wanted to mention the nursery rhyme, but are we to that point yet? Because
where's the nursery rhyme?
That's
like no, there it is. It's not actually indented. Yeah, no, so I think I noted it too.
It's in the middle of a paragraph. But yeah, because one of the things that Shevik does with the baby is he bounces the baby on his knee and he talks to the baby about science, about like really like, you know, esoteric, advanced scientific concepts that most adults couldn't understand, but that, you know, he talks to the baby about it. And it sort of describes about like how he sort of comes alive when he's talking to the baby about his work and about these really, really far out, you know,
because the baby is just like, yes,
yeah, exactly.
What? Ba 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 ba.
Yeah, and he has
yes, exactly, science and baby ba ba ba.
And it says he gave extravagant and ever-changing nicknames to the baby and recited ridiculous mnemonics at her. And this is one of the mnemonics that he recites at the baby. And it goes, time is a manacle, time is tyrannical, super mechanical, super organical.
Oh, I see. He said pop.
Pop. And at the pop, the baby rose a short distance into the air, squeaking and waving her fat fists. God, I'm glad I don't have a baby. But Shevik enjoys it greatly and likes being a daddy. And then of course he gets an emergency posting because of the drought. You know, everybody's getting sent off to do necessary work, and he gets sent far away from Abernay, so he's going to have to leave Takfur and the baby, which he is not happy about. But you know, you do what you have to do. So he
they would like to survive. Thank you, please.
Yeah. So he leaves them for 6 decades, which is 60
Well,
days.
I have some notes from before they left. They're remembering back.
Yeah.
Beta comes over.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah,
They have like he's saved his rations and brought over like a bottle of fruit juice or something.
Woo!
Yeah. Now we're living.
And when they were they're reflecting back to when they were 20, and Shivik says, "By damn, what a kid you were then." And that's why I was literally laughing as I'm reading this, because we were talking about them being so young, and now
they are
doing the same thing, but they're still significantly younger than we are, and I'm still looking at them like brand new parents, still. I mean, granted, neither of us are parents at all, so I mean, there's but still.
God.
And Emily Chambers, no, that's not just academic studies. That I would say that goes for artistic studies, anything where you have to that involves learning, and the pursuit of understanding, whether it's of a skill or of additional knowledge. Where you are seeking to know more, to be able to do more than you could before. I mean, and there is, especially when there is, sort of thinking about it, puzzling through with the analytical, side of it. Like, I mean, that part of running was interesting, figuring out, what is my goal? What do I need to do to reach it? In what way is it better if I run longer at a slower pace, or, should I do shorter and work on speed? And so essentially I changed it up and tried to do both. And, but it all sucked anyway, was what I found out. I didn't necessarily get any faster. So it's all, but it was still learning. The learning was interesting. The running itself sucked. And Beta says there's a point around age 20 when you have to choose whether to be like everybody else for the rest of your life or to make a virtue of your peculiarities. And I wrote, ha, ha, ha. I'm just like it's one choice.
Yeah.
No. Oh,
it's situational, kind of. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, you really think it's practically I'm not like other girls.
Yeah,
it's almost that. It's that attitude. Oh my gosh, like, he handles his fruit juice much better than his alcohol.
Yeah,
you are so right.
He sure does.
Although, in fairness, he's got, if he went over and started nibbling on Tucker, she'd be like, Beta, bye.
Party's over.
And then he gives a toast to they had referred to the baby only as the baby up till now.
Oh yes, the baby.
We don't even see any pet names or anything like that, which is interesting.
We're told that they exist, but we don't know what they are.
Yeah, my note at the top of the next page. They're still so young looking back on your 20s. At 30.
At 30.
Oh,
but yeah, so the computer gives the baby a name, and the name is Sadiq or Sadiq or Sadiq.
I say Sadiq.
Sadiq. That sounds good.
And
Sadiq.
And she says, it doesn't fit her. It sounds like a tall, slender girl with long black hair. Wonder who he's thinking about. And Beta says, well, it's a short, fat girl with invisible hair. She's bald, dude. Who's ever heard of a bald girl? Give her time, brother. Listen, I'm going to make a speech. So he ain't even had any booze. And he's
he's
we're gonna make a speech.
He's stone sober, and he's like, I got something to say. Everybody shut up, god damn it. Listen to me. I love you.
He gets so emotional about his baby.
Yeah, he's one of those insufferable new parents who gets all mushy and weepy about his goddamn baby.
You have never, ever felt the slightest interest in raising a child.
Never. Not seriously. Not seriously, no.
Not seriously.
I've had curiosity, like, well, I wonder what it's like, or, and I'm sure it's very fulfilling, but no, for me personally, no, absolutely not. No. I tell you what, you know what I really like? I like extremely occasional limited contact with other people's babies that I can just hold for like 5 minutes and hand right back and be like, oh, that's nice. I'm done.
But it is nice for those 5 minutes.
Sometimes, yeah. Depending on what the baby's doing. Depending on what the baby's doing. If the baby's like just being quiet and just being a baby, it's like, oh, look, it's a baby, a cute baby. All right, here, take him.
If the baby's being annoying and whining at you,
You know, as annoying as that animal in your lap is, I would, I find cats
you trade the
to
baby
be,
for this guy.
I would trade a baby for a cat in a heartbeat. If I had a baby and you had a cat and you would give me the cat for the baby, that's a deal, baby. That's a deal.
No, you can't. This shirt is no claws. No, I know you want to try to climb me, but you going down. This shirt is not. This is not a fleece hoodie. No, that ain't happening. And I will say, children's claws are much not nearly as unpleasant as cat claws. Hui!
No, but you don't have to put a cat through college.
There is. Oh, you don't have to put a kid through college.
You don't have to put a kid through college, but the cat's never going to come to you and say, "Hey, mom, can I borrow the car?" And you're going to say, "Actually, no, I don't think so, not today." And then the cat's not going to go, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate you," and like run to its room and slam the door.
Children go out of pooping places other than they should.
Oh, it's one of my favorite.
They won't say I hate you.
It's
They'll just poop on your things.
It's still one of my favorite Onion headlines. It just says, "Do you like having boxes of shit in your house? Get a cat."
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so yeah, Sadik is the baby's name, and Shevik gets shipped off to, what is it? South Rise, is it called?
Yeah. South Rising, yeah.
South Rising to do a 6 week or a 2 months, 60 days, 2 months, yeah, six decades stint for emergency work to help with the drought.
Oh, golly. Oh, there's a sneeze. It's like hanging out in there, like not...
Oh, don't you hate that?
Oh boy. Whoo, tingles. And so yeah, personal communication at long distance is costly in materials and labor. I'm so sorry. Oh. Yes, Charles Chapman the same way. And not the idea of why would they not want to stay in touch was the note that I made there. The same note.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too. Like, are they that cold-hearted that they just they don't get attached to people? like
they're Jedi or something.
Yeah.
No, that was I was like, I don't know that I buy that. For me, it felt like the opposite would be true, because she puts it as living in a society where anyone could move whenever and wherever he wanted, and Honoresti tended to look for his friends where he was, not where he had been. I'm like, the fact of that common movement and sometimes required movement seems like people would want to stay in touch if they could, but it's more of a factor of it being resource heavy is what she says. And again, we get to that that idea of the computer can do so much, but it can't do the things that the plot requires that it not be able to do.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so but they do, Shevik and Takfur do write letters to each other.
Yeah,
and
they're just like they write these letters. And I like that. The individual, however, decided what was and what was not necessary. It's just like, what? I'm gonna
write a letter. Try and stop me.
I mean, I consider myself very young, so I mean, take that for what it's worth. At 42, almost 43, I'll be 43 soon.
Next month.
Next month. At the end of next month.
Yeah.
Oh, probably won't be vaccinated yet by that. I don't think so. I'm not that optimistic, let's say. Yeah. And I wrote in between the two different letters, I made a note, excellent work with different voices, because
very much.
Yeah.
Takfur's letter is totally different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Takfur's letter is more like a text message, like choppy, incomplete sentences, very sort of, very direct, like abbreviated speech.
Yeah. and run-ons. I thought they had left you off by mistake, so I went to the members Sid, and they said yes, they wanted you to give the geom class. Period. So I went to the inst cord off to that old woman with the nose, and she knew nothing. No, I don't know anything. No, I don't know anything. Go to central posting. Exclamations. That is nonsense. I said and went to Sybil. I just like it feels like she just had a lot to say, and she is like she's just going.
I'm just writing.
You know? Yeah. Coming in just now, is this as ableist as it feels? March birthdays are ableist? I'm confused. Or is it sneezing cats and babies? I don't know.
Or the book. I don't know. I'm not sure what that's in reference to.
Is it ableist because of the communications? I don't know. Emily, I would love to hear an explanation. I'm confused. So, and happy Lunar New Year. I don't have a whole lot of notes for a little while. Shives did not get Tokver's letter. Sad face.
Sad face.
Aw. And then he starts thinking about, he gets on the train. He left South Rising, and he's coming back to Abernay, and on the train, and it's rough.
Yeah.
And
because there's no food.
There's no food, and they're travelers, and people don't want to give them food because then there's not enough for them.
Right.
And there also, I have good echo. I didn't notice that when they're talking about it earlier, when they're talking about the drought early on, there's the sense of we'll see each other through. And then they finally get to the station, and they got a meal, a half loaf of Holland bread and a bowl of soup. And they're like, oh God, thank you, food.
Yeah.
And they had seen each other through. I liked that echo. I mean, I talk with my students sometimes about effective versus ineffective repetition. It's hard. It's hard to sort of get a sense of, because it doesn't, sometimes it's like when I won't say it drives me up a wall. It is a minor peeve of mine when students literally just dump their thesis into their conclusion again, like they word for word just drop it in there. And the book Ableist Quality Work and Resources. I don't Emily, I don't think, because quality work is different from necessary work, work that is needed. Because there were two different places where it talked about that. It talked about there is joy in doing work that is not needed, or the useless work that darkens the heart, of doing work and doing it well. There's joy in that, and I think that's true, but well is not specific. So I mean, there's a sense, I mean, the expectations are different for different levels of skill and different levels of aptitude. So, and also the fact that they note that the individual decides what is necessary. So, there are people who, if they, if the Shives and Tokver wrote each other regularly about once a decade, and if there were people like at the mail depot who Tokver's always bringing letters to, like every week, I can see how they might look at her and be like, girl, you wasting resources. What is this? They might look at her, but that's, it's her choice, but it's also their choice to feel how they feel about her use of resources. So, Emma, I would hope that, because, and I think part of it is because their world is so resource scarce. They do have to, they have a priority on making sure people get what they need, and people who skive off by choice, or just like they have that choice, but especially in a time of need, other people are not going to like it. But someone who has a disability, and it's recognized as such, especially like if you've been seen like, running half marathons, and when you're needed for help that involves that's a similar kind of physicality, and you claim that you can't, people might, people are gonna question that, and I think rightfully so. But if you have a disability that prevents you from taking part in some of this necessary physical work, and, you know, it seems like it's the kind of society where they would say, we can find necessary, we got plenty of necessary work that needs done. Right. It doesn't all have to be physical labor, you know? And yeah, some random geek there that needs to be taken into account in a truly anarchist society, any society that cares for its members, that claims to, it needs to take disability into account. And then he gets back.
Yeah. And Takver and the baby are gone. So sad.
Okay, Emily Chambers, if you feel free to send me a message on like Facebook or, you know, I don't know, are there messages on YouTube? Don't send me a message on YouTube because I probably won't know how to get it.
There used to be. I don't know if they still let you send me. I don't know.
I don't know.
If there are, I haven't checked mine for a few years. But
Emerald, I disagree, because I think what they're saying is work that you can do well, like that you're capable. I mean, there's work that I'm not capable of doing well. And it's in this case, it's not because of disability, but if I was trying to do it and I'm trying to do something that you suck at, sucks.
Yeah.
You know, or especially being expected to. Oh, that just sucks. But I mean, there is work that a disabled person, there's necessary work that a disabled person would be able to do well. And It is enjoyment of doing something that helps others. I think that's what they're talking about, and being good at it. A disabled person can have things that they are good at, and there is enjoyment in doing something that you're good at and that other people recognize your expertise in.
Yeah. And that might be something that is taken into account with DivLab, you know, or like when people are given assignments, if it's known that a person has a particular disability but is well suited to this kind of work, you know, maybe that, you know, it's sorted accordingly so that everybody has a meaningful task.
Yeah, although
that they're able to do.
With was it Tyrion? I mean, there wasn't disability there, but there was strong preference for mental work rather than physical work. And there was Bedap seemed to think that he was deliberately being sent repeatedly,
right?
Because Shevik made the point that, you know, well, you know, everybody cycles through different kinds of labor at certain points, but you know, Bedap says no. This wasn't just cycling through. This was repeatedly.
This happened repeatedly. Yeah, this happened again and again,
and seemed to indicate that it was purposeful. And it makes, you know, again, it's you know, there's a question there. Is first of all, is he right? You know, is that accurate? Is that what actually happened? What's his source? You know, is Tyrion presenting it that way because that's how it feels to him, that he's always getting these postings and he's actually not, you know?
Right.
And if it's happening, how is it happening? I'm very curious about it, because, you know, he says he went back to DivLab and says this is inaccurate, and DivLab gave him a very similar posting. And it makes, you know, so who controls the computer? And I would be interested to see. I want to see, and then he goes to like the therapy commune.
Yeah.
Which, you know, he's like, you know, he was sent there, Bedap says, and I really want to see more about that, but we haven't yet. And oh gosh, and Takver says Takver's gone, and she says, I could not in conscience refuse the posting that they gave her, and I'm just like, but he came back.
Yeah,
he came back, and they're gone.
Yeah. And it's
Radical Bacon, exactly.
Yeah, 60 days.
It's like it's only
right?
2 months, and he left thinking it's I can do this. It's only 2 months, and oh gosh, but yeah, and it's I mean, and not just that. I mean, come on, it was only supposed to be a 3-hour tour,
and they're still on that goddamn island.
Oh, and the near insurrection. Yeah, mostly that I mean, Shevik thinks about that, the near insurrection, and Shevik's thinking about at what point, where's the breaking point? They didn't get to it, which is good. But, you know, I mean, it's good for them. but where is it and how does that work? Who breaks first and what do they do? And that's then going to create, people are going to follow them. I mean, that's what we saw on January 6th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How does that start? When you have that sort of movement, how does that flow start? I would be really, really interesting especially since they have the GPS data to look at how that movement flowed, because I would guess that it was not like the people at the back or the edges of the crowd who moved first. My guess is that it would be the people that are in the center who aren't on the fringes. So they can tell themselves that they're not really moving that direct, that they're not really leading.
Right.
But they're the ones who start the movement, and then other people who are in front of them move. So they're nobody is leading from the front. Right. They're leading from the middle. That's my guess, but because it gives everybody plausible deniability.
Right. Yeah.
And I think when you're doing something that you're not, that there's several layers, because, President Trump said, and, they believe this is right, but at the same time, there's a level below that where they know that it's not right, but there's a level below that where they're like, there's anger and hostility and frustration in the sense of not being listened to by their Congress people. There's just so many layers there. But yeah, Cardinal Charles Chapman. Yeah, I really felt some insurrection-y vibes there, but of course they didn't get to the point where they actually did anything about it. So Le Guin kind of skips over it.
Yeah.
But because that's not really what the book is about. And I think once you start it, that's what the book's going to be about.
Yeah, that's a pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big change.
So Sheva gets home, and the partner and the kid are gone, and he's really upset about that and really disappointed. And then the next morning, he gets to deal with his absolutely insufferable neighbor, who he hates, who the text tells us he cannot stand her. It says that Tokfer thinks that she was kind of funny, like sort of finds her sort of entertaining. Shevik has no use for her at all. And now he's alone and forced to endure her presence. And she's coming over and she's like, oh, isn't it terrible that they made her leave like that? And she had to take the baby and she's going to be gone for so long.
Why do you have to say things that I agree with? I don't want to agree with you. I don't like you. Oh.
And I love the way the neighbor's name is Bunub. And I love the way she's written, because she is so intrusive and so insinuating, and you know what I mean? Like, it's like she sort of lets herself into the room, just sweeps right past him, goes over to the table, reads the letter, like there's absolutely no.
Oh, that's so sad. Like, as though she hasn't already gone in and read it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, because she knew when she knocked on the door.
Yeah,
she knew what the deal was when she knocked on the door.
Yeah, Charles Chapman points out, and I noted this. Hell, he said aloud. Prophet was not a good swearing language. It is hard to swear, and sex is not dirty, and blasphemy does not exist. Oh, hell, he said again. He crumpled up Sybil's grubby little note vindictively. And this is when he's like, Shevik, come to the physics office. And I pointed out they do have scatological swearing.
Yes.
But also, and you can get creative. It is very possible to be creative in your use of, just get out of my way and then die. Not that I have a reminder on my phone for my drive into work that pings. Usually shortly after when I'm a little ways down the road, and it says forgive the other drivers.
And it always works, and you always calm right down.
And I never swear at other drivers.
Never.
Never.
Perish the thought. Perish the thought.
Yes. And then there does come a point when it doesn't matter what the language is, or when swearing is just not enough, and you just gotta like yell at the walls and the sky, just
exactly.
There's just not, when you're that angry. And then I don't know, for me there's anger beyond that, where it's just like, someone is going to understand how I'm going to make them know that this was, and actually that is what, when I'm talking to my students one-on-one, usually who talk about being bullied, is that I let them know that either we need to let this person, if a person is bullying you, we need to identify the behavior and let this person know that this not okay. Once.
Right.
You can tell them, or I can tell them. After that, if the behavior continues, or if they refuse to change the behavior, you let me know. And I will make sure that they understand that the behavior is going to change, and that it is not a good idea to continue that behavior. They will understand. There was some pressure on my knuckles there. You do not mess with my children. These thousands now of students are my children, and you will not make them suffer. They will do plenty of that themselves.
I will make them suffer. I am their teacher.
Who
the hell are you?
Make them suffer, not you.
Who the hell do you think you are?
You little snit.
But yeah, so he gets away from the neighbor.
Thank God.
And he goes to breakfast, and he runs into Desar, who kind of chats him up, and tells him that he should go see Sabul. Because the institution is reorganizing. Nope. Yeah, go ahead.
Food first. The little bit where his brain. So he goes back. Yes. Where are we? Is this the second?
Ravenous still from the journey.
Yes. He took a double. He doesn't even go back for seconds.
He takes a double portion at first.
He takes a double portion right away the first time, and he does. He gets some side eyeing, and he's like, no. He's like, I do not care. I am that hungry.
I'm hungry. I want the food.
He was an Odonian. He left the guilt, the profiteers. He's like, I have earned this. I am this.
I haven't eaten for 2 days. I'm hungry.
Frustration, anxiety, famine, said his forebrain, seat of intellect, but his hindbrain, squatting in unrepentant savagery, back in the deep skull's darkness, said, food now! Because I feel like she means to me, food now! Food! Pay attention to food! But I wrote in the happy savage, food now! Food now!
Food now!
Oh, yay! Have food! Everything good! Yay, food! Have food!
I thought you would probably relate to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I thought you would
relate to that. It's just like it. Like I saw it first, like because of the phrase "unrepentant savagery." I'm like, but that's not like when you're really hungry and you get some food, and it mentions this with the soup.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When they're hungry on the train.
It's the same thing. It doesn't take. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but it doesn't take that much. Like, if it's been a while since lunch and like dinner, it's like, yes, dinner! Maybe that's just me, though. But I think it's more common than that.
Yeah.
Food, yes. Yes, food is good. And I have no qualms about my food brain. I'm very, very happy with my food brain. I accept it. It is a part of who I am, so there. And yeah, and he does not actually like Desar at all.
No, he doesn't. But yeah, Desar tells him that they're reorganizing at the Institute, that they're letting people go because of the famine and because people are needed elsewhere. But
Emerlion, I would say ability disability is somewhat binary, but I think of it in terms of situational binary. Can I do this? Yes or no? Can I, or really, I can do this with help, or I can't do this. Those are so trinary. Is trinary a thing? So
it is now.
It is now. So I think of it in those terms, but it's situational. But in terms of having a disability, no, obviously it's much more complex than that. But in terms of, because the honor ST are so practical, it's more ability or disability to do a task.
Right.
Rather than, I think they would think of it in that term as at least as much as having, I can do this sometimes, but not other times. And again, situational. Some tasks are, even in the same vein, are more complex or more challenging than others. I don't even, somebody at school, I was saying, if if I knew my bills would be paid, first of all, I would teach. I would just teach. I would be a Shevik. I'd be like, yes, let's talk about literature and grammar and things like that, and how we write and how we make stories and da da da. Absolutely. Yeah. And then if you wanted me to be happy at my job, give me food. Just be like, here, have it, like, not even, it doesn't even have to be like good, great food. Be like, here, have some fresh fruit. Yay. Or have a candy bar. Yay. Or have a sandwich. Yay. I'm really
just food. Is it edible?
Everything is edible once. So, random geek, yay! And I can be one of yours. We can teachify each other.
Teachify.
I will say, Jalen, I got so I was given an apple, but it was a red delicious apple. And I was
Not
like,
your favorite.
It isn't. It's like the one kind. I think it may be the only kind of fruit that I don't like. If need be, it's not something that I dislike enough to be like, oh, I don't want that. But I won't just eat it on its own. And it just got like smaller and smaller in the fridge. So finally, it had to go away. Yeah. I need one of those signs. We'll teach for food. Red, not. They really aren't. It's so. I think they're bred for like color now, because the flavor is just, they're bitter. They really are. And I guess it's good that the flavor is mild, because the flavor is not good. Yeah. But I like
Radical Bacon, Granny Smith. That's my go-to apple.
I do Honey Crisps are amazing. My favorite are Pink Ladies, because the flavor, they're tart like Granny Smith's, but there's more nuance. There's also some sweetness to the flavor of Pink Lady apples, and they're really crisp. Granny Smith's sometimes are a little softer, like Golden Delicious apples. Yeah, not quite to that extent. But also Granny Smiths are really, they're the best for baking, because like you put the Granny Smith in, and then big old ton of brown sugar and some butter.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff. Yes. Very delicious as a marketing ploy. Absolutely. Very much like the name Greenland.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it sounds nice, doesn't it?
Should we go back to the book, maybe?
Yes,
Steve?
yes.
I can talk about food like all night.
So Shevik goes to see Sabul.
Mm-hmm.
And Sabul, it starts out sort of pleasant, but then Sabul starts in on his usual Sabul bullshit when Shevik asks him about his book, and have you heard? Because he sent some copies of his book to Uras on the transport, and he was like, "Have you heard anything from it? Has anybody said anything about my book?"
Nothing of interest.
Yeah.
No reviews of the principals. No. Sabul's tone was surly, more like himself.
There he is. And then in a rather sort of a bit of foreshadowing after the fact, let's say, Sabul says, because Shevik says, that's odd that there haven't been any reviews or responses or whatever, and Sabul says, what's odd about it? What did you expect? A lectureship at EU Yun University, the C.O. Owen Prize, both of which we know he actually gets. So
here's what I want to know. Has he gotten the prize?
You mean at
Oh.
this point?
At this point.
I guess he probably has, or he will soon, because when
No, but I mean, is
oh, and Sabul is keeping it from him,
and Sybil knows.
quite possibly. Yeah, maybe.
And that's
Sybil is an asshole.
I want to talk about this book, and Sybil's like, I was happy when we were talking about the famine.
Yeah. Let's go back to talking about the famine that is ravaging our
separated from your wife and your baby.
Yeah. Yeah. How's life? I bet you're feeling that time isn't the construct now, aren't you, you piece of shit?
I don't even know which one you were, because they both get to be. I guess that's.
I was doing Sabul there. I was doing Sabul flipping shit to Shevik, but I get
But Shevik gets there too.
Yeah.
It's like, this is your work, what you call it, doesn't get bread into people's mouths. He's like, I just spent 6 decades helping to do that. When I'm called again, I'll go again.
Right.
Because
unlike some people in this room.
Uh-huh. Oh my goodness. And then he's like, actually, you're probably right. And he just walks out.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, are you familiar with, have you heard of Marilyn Vos Savant?
I don't know if I have. I don't think I have.
Okay. Supposedly, she is the person with the highest IQ in the world. And she writes a column, just Ask Marilyn, for some magazine. And I guess it's probably syndicated. And, people send in and ask questions. And one of the questions was, what do you do when someone holds to, what do you tell someone? How do you respond when someone holds to an idea or that is incorrect, factually, that that they're wrong, but they just won't listen to reason? And she says, I have a phrase that I use, which is, dear sir, and that I have used in responses. Dear sir, you may be right. And just, that's it. You may be right. You're not, but
you may be.
In another universe with different forms of life and laws of physics. You may be right in that universe, but not in this one.
Yeah. It is not an existential impossibility that you might be right.
Exactly. But leaving out words that they wouldn't understand, Steve.
Oh, sorry.
Are you though?
No, not at all. I'm not.
Not at all. Me either. And neither, as it turns out, is Shevik.
No.
So
he goes to DivLab to try and he wants to get a posting close to Takver.
Yes.
But unfortunately, that is easier said than done.
Yeah. And he's like, I want.
Yeah, he's like, don't they need like a janitor or something at the lab where she works?
I want to go where she is.
I want to see my baby.
I want the little baby.
I want my little baby, please.
And she's like, but eventually, he's like, well, he says, I don't know what to do. And the DivLab person says, it's a famine prevention job, isn't it? It's not going to go on like this forever. It can't. It'll rain. And he looks at her and it says he smiled a little, for he could not leave her effort to give hope without response. And it's just, he eventually accepts another posting.
Yeah. He eventually just says, just give me like a posting, like a famine posting or something. And she's like, okay, here's this one down in the Southwest.
We got lots of those.
She says, here's one in the dust. And he says, all right, send me to the dust. I've been there before.
And he says, besides, as you say, someday it will rain. Someday. And then the last word of the chapter, indefinite. Hmm. Oh, Charles Chapman, thank you. Nice scholarship, Charles.
Look at Charles looked that up.
Won it.
Yeah, so he's 30 in this chapter. So yeah,
probably been notifications. So Sabul probably.
Oh, Sabul.
And that's why he's so grumpy. Good.
That's our Sabul.
Yep, that's some bullshit.
That is some bullshit.
So, but at the same time, we know that since we know it's going to be okay,
right? Because we've
because we've seen he is still, he's not thinking of her in the long-term past when he is on Urus,
right?
So
it's
it's going to be okay.
It's fine. It's going to be fine
eventually, someday. So, well, that's chapter 8. So
yeah, what did you? I thought it was a pretty good chapter. Eventful, not as eventful as the last one because I feel like the last one had a lot of plot stuff happen in it.
Yes,
and also the last one was set in the book's present day.
Yeah, but this one, I would say this one has as much plot stuff happening for in contrast, because we have like a baby and then the famine that's like and huge, and the book being published. I mean, I would argue and the possibility of violent revolution. There's a lot of plotty stuff going on. Not as much, I would say, not as much charactery, like the Shives' failure in the assault scene is very much. I mean, I would say that's the point in that chapter. That's it.
Oh, I agree.
But and I don't know that this one has as much of a turning point for him.
No.
Character-wise, but I think plot-wise, there's easily as much plotty stuff.
Well,
but
there's not a character turning point for him that we haven't seen before, but it does sort of reiterate again what I think has been his sort of defining tension as a character, which is the conflict between his loyalty to his society and the desires of his heart, whatever. Whatever that may be. Because in this one, in this chapter we just went over, I mean, he does have it mentions that he does have the option to just go. Yeah, like he doesn't have to be. Yeah, he doesn't have to get a job there. He can just go, and he doesn't have to have a job. It mentioned, and in fact, it reminds us he can do that anyway. He can go wherever he wants and do whatever he wants. And if all he wants to do is wake up in the morning and go to like the cafeteria in the community and just get his meal, and then go fuck off and do whatever he wants, he can do that. But he has a sense of duty and of loyalty to his society that he just can't, even though we see how much he wants to go back and be with Takfur and the baby. We know that that's very, very heavy on his heart, but he just can't bring himself to do it. But at
the same time, and not just because of a sense of duty and a sense of loyalty, because it comes up I think she used the word pleasure, but there's also, I would use the word joy in meaningful work. And I think that there is that. We've seen that in previous flashback chapters where he's doing something that is not what he has chosen as his vocation, where he's doing this work and, kind of getting ribbed by the other guys because, he's a pale hands and he's... Yes, some random geek.
I said duty.
Teenagers, duty. Hee. I'm 4 years old. I've worked with 4-year-olds too. Oh my god.
Yes, you have.
Any day. Oh Lord, those 4-year-olds were exhausting. That there is the tension between like you have value as an individual, you don't have to be useful, and the honest desire to be useful. Like, I mean, that's what I was talking with a former student, she, say, our mutual friend,
Yeah.
says, who said, "Thank you for not hating me for being useless." I'm like, okay, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
You don't. And what did I think my response this time was, I am not particularly interested in using someone. But at the same time, and I want to pull her away from that mindset, because that drive becomes negative for her. But I understand the desire to be useful, to have what you do be valued by others. It's nice.
Yeah. It's a good thing that can become a toxic thing.
Exactly. It's not just, although it is supported by their teaching and their cultural values, it's not, I would say there is something innately human about it. It is a universal truth about human nature.
Yeah, but it can tip over into feeling as though you need to justify your existence.
Yes.
By doing something useful, and that's when you're
otherwise you're a waste of resources.
Yeah, and that's not how you want it to go. It's
no.
Being useful and feeling useful gives you fulfillment and gives you purpose and feels good, and that's But if you feel like, oh no, I must be
obligation,
I must make myself useful or else.
That sort of tension, we see that in a number of ways. Like you talked about his individuality versus community. We see that sort of that tension, that pull.
Yeah.
I mean, and part of it is what creates suspense and drama and keeps you interested in the story. Whereas in real life, it creates stress and it sucks.
It's like, I hope somebody's having a good time watching this, because I hate it.
But when it happens in a book to people who don't actually exist, then it's nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Mel Brooks's definitions of tragedy and comedy. Tragedy is when I stub my toe. Comedy is when you fall into a manhole and die.
Oh, when it happens to somebody else.
As long as it happens to somebody else, it's great.
Yes, Charles. Well, it is a truth that should be universally acknowledged, and alas, sometimes isn't. Wait, you looked up, well, Radical Bacon says you looked up this book, I presume. The
hardcover of The Dispossessed?
Yes.
Is it a first edition for $768? It had better be, Jesus.
Not necessarily.
Well, I guess if it's out of print, if the hardcover is out of print, I guess it could be that much.
Yeah, but or just people can list something. People can offer to sell something at whatever price they desire. That doesn't mean anybody is.
That's hilarious. I'm gonna see. Let me see if I can unload this copy of The Dispossessed for $800.
I mean, seriously, you remember when eBay first got started? There
totally.
A number of times when somebody would list something for a ridiculous price, and sort of scalpers, but not exactly.
Yeah.
And the phrasing of it would technically be accurate, but you'd end up thinking that you were buying a dozen of this thing and you'd get one of this thing or something like that.
There's a lot of deceptive stuff.
The decimal point, it would sound like a reasonable price, but if you look at it, you're like, wait, the decimal point is there, not here. And so
hang on a second.
It'll be a mistaken purchase. And before eBay had developed its consumer protections to the point that they have it now, people got burnt, and you had seller reviews became a thing, and animate VHS. Well, $15 just ain't that much, though. I mean, if it's something that's out of print, hard to find, I can totally see.
Yeah.
Now VHS tape,
back in the day. Before, does anybody? Because do you remember the concept of VHS tapes being priced to sell?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the way it used to go is when a movie first came out on VHS, it would cost like $100. But,
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, it would cost like $100, but because they were primarily sold to to video rental stores. And the idea was that people, most consumers weren't buying them. They were
when VHS first came out, not when movies, not like later when VHS was commonly used in houses.
No, this was into the 90s. This was still done. Where they would, when it was first released, it would be priced at way above
When a movie was first released, and
when a movie first when it came out on video originally, when it came out on VHS, after it had been in theaters, when it came out on VHS, it was customary that it would be priced at like $100, and the idea was that it was being sold to video stores who would then rent it, and that's how most people would see it. They would rent the movie instead of buying it, and then months later, it would be released as what they called price to sell, where it would be like $20. That's how it was for a long time.
Like in the household I grew up in, like that was not an option.
Yeah.
Totally not an option. So, I mean, I guess I didn't even know that the movie was out on VHS until it was priced to sell.
Yeah. And then by the time like DVD came along, that practice was pretty much done away with. And when something came out on home video, whatever the format, it was pretty much priced to sell immediately. But that was how it was done for a long time.
Well, I have learned something today. Thank you, Steve Shives.
Oh, hey, this is what I'm here for. Useless.
And the sweet advertising dollars.
Ah, yes. Yeah. So good chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Good chapter.
Good conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely. As always. Absolutely. Did you want to remind folks of your YouTube channel before we wrap things up?
Hey, guess what, everybody? I have a YouTube channel.
Nicely done.
Thank you so much. Yesterday, the most recent, the end of volume 1 of Pride and Prejudice. There are 3 volumes. So my most recent Pride and Prejudice video went up. Next week, I'm going to be talking about literature, and that'll be on Tuesday. And then I get to do a book talk on Saturday for Agatha Christie's 13 at Dinner, which is just a lovely, lovely character-driven story. Hilarious twists and turns. They're not exactly hilarious, but if you know Agatha Christie, it's so charming and so much fun, and the characters are just delightful, and it's just yummy.
Actually, I thought of you earlier because I was watching, as you know, I've been watching Young Justice.
Yes.
And
it's cartoon. Yes.
Yeah. And it's like it's okay. Like it's good enough for me to keep watching it at this point, but it's not like blowing my hair back or anything. But I thought of you in one of the episodes I watched today because 2 of the villains were the Terror Twins, who are it's a guy and a girl, and their first names are Tommy and Tuppence.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's delightful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, and a little bit weird for them to be twins.
I know, yeah, but
in Agatha Christie's books, they're like married.
Yeah, but that's I as soon as I heard that, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, Dana's gonna like that. So yeah.
Oh, Cardinal Doomsday, which one?
So yeah, I am just at this point I am merely whelmed by the show at this point. Yes, and I'm about halfway through season 1. I'm told it gets better, so I'm gonna hang in there with it. But right now it's just kind of okay,
So are you in Europe, Steve?
Am I in Europe?
Have you ever seen Clueless?
It's been a long time.
I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you be just whelmed? I think you can't be in Europe.
Cardinal Doomsday, yes, I'm watching WandaVision, yes. And I am enjoying the hell out of it. Today's episode was okay. It wasn't like, I mean, it was good, but it was kind of like a plot episode of sort of like we have to move the pieces forward.
So anything that you say is going to be a spoiler. Because
I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to spoil it. I figured you hadn't had time to watch it yet, but yeah, it wasn't a bad episode, but it wasn't as good or as exciting as last week's episode. But I thought it was, I mean, I overall, I really, really like the show. I've liked the show from the first, I love the sitcom gimmick. I love the sitcom gimmick. I do not understand people who are like, oh, it's kind of boring for the first 2 episodes and then it starts going. Fuck you. The sitcom thing is, I loved it. I loved it. If they had just...
You are so how can you be a fan? How can you be a fan? You are so judgmental of people who like things in a different way than you do.
No. They're allowed to like it however they want. I just think it's ridiculous. I just think I lose patience. I lose patience.
Steve Shives.
Yes, I'm gatekeeping one. I'm not gatekeeping. You can like it and enjoy it. I'm just saying
You're just judging.
I don't respect your opinion if you say that, well, you know, it's kind of boring for the first 2 episodes. Get away from me. Get behind me, Satan. It was hilarious. The first 2 episodes were hilarious. What if you said that? Mm-hmm. You get special dispensation. You get special dispensation.
Oh, you're inconsistent and hypocritical, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
I'm not.
Well, in that case, that's okay, because I'm ashamed for you and I am disappointed in you, Steve. Cardinal Doomsday. I don't think I'm there yet. Oh, no WandaVision spoilers, please.
Yeah, no WandaVision, no spoilers. I would, yeah. I mean, honestly, I will say nothing happened in this week's episode that was nearly as spoilery as last time. But yeah, of course, I don't want to
spoiler possible as last time.
If I told you everything that happened in the episode and you had seen last week's episode, you probably wouldn't feel like anything had been spoiled. But I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not going to give any plot details or anything. I mean, we're not doing a WandaVision stream. But yes, I really like the show. I really like the show so far.
Oh, we're looking into trial. Charles Chapman mentioned spring break. We're waiting for spring break for CBS All Access, doing a CBS All Access trial because.
Oh yeah, soon to be Paramount Plus. So.
Yeah, something like that. But for Queen Latifah's show.
Oh yeah, the new Equalizer.
God!
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but I don't want to get an entire streaming service for one show. I just.
Well, you know what you could do. Because I'm not sure. I mean, the show, it just started last week. So it's a mid-season replacement. So I don't know. It'll probably run new episodes from now until about April or May. If you can wait that long, just wait till the whole season has aired.
Yeah,
and then sign up for like a month and just binge it so you can see it. And then if you want, you can just cancel the membership.
That's the general plan is to get a temporary subscription in it.
Because that's what I believe that is what your friend and mine, Jason Harding, did to watch the new Star Trek shows. Is just waited until, because the CBS All Access has Star Trek too, and they release the new episodes once a week instead of doing it Netflix style where they dump everything. And Jason waited until the whole season was out, and then he would subscribe to CBS All Access and watch it, and then unsubscribe when he was done.
Yep, man.
So
a man after my flinty, thrifty, stingy little heart.
Viacom needs your money.
My brother in spirit, if not by blood.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, and Monday I have another conversation stream coming up. It's with my dear old friend Serious Mind, Joe from the Patreon Hangouts. And he's one of my oldest YouTube friends, and we're going to hang out for an hour on Monday. It's going to be great. And then Wednesday, you and I will be back together to do Trek Reluctantly.
But before that.
Oh, I have
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. That's what I said.
Well, but before that on Wednesday.
I have a Trek Actually video coming out. Yeah, I have a new Trek Actually video. It is the City on the Edge of Forever video that I shot today, and am going to be editing. I might work on it a little over the weekend, but probably really going to jump into it on Monday. I think it's going to be good. It is about and I just want to not work as much on the weekend if possible. I have a couple of your videos to edit, but they shouldn't be real bad. And I'll probably have both of those done tomorrow. But yeah, it's the City on the Edge of Forever video where it's comparing the episode as it actually was produced and aired to Harlan Ellison's original teleplay, and it's hopefully people will like it. I think it's a really interesting story and a really interesting video. And then also Wednesday night we have our Trek Reluctantly live stream where we will be watching next week. We will be watching Firefly. We'll be watching Janestown. Is the next episode.
Another episode that I really like, and it's a really, really good episode.
Cool.
So.
I can't wait to see it. And then a week from tonight is the next Ask Away. And also
going back to Monday.
Yeah, going back to Monday.
Isn't this coming Monday when you're going to have your humor video going up?
Oh, my funny video. Yes, I have absolutely. The Mondays I have a special sort of
you're not Ask Away.
It's a fake. It's in the. Yeah, it is a comedy video. It's in the form of like a Q&A, but it's totally fictional. And hopefully people will be able to tell that it's not me playing the real me. It's me playing a fictionalized version of me. But maybe they won't. Maybe they'll
version of you that you always play.
The same version of me that I play in the Stuffy videos and on the Ensign's log, and now in this video.
Okay, wait. So question. In the Stuffy videos,
yeah,
the Stuffy version of you
mm-hmm.
is a YouTuber, right?
Oh yeah.
So is this happening in the Stuffyverse?
No, I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
It could be. If we come up with, here's the thing, I'm completely flexible on all of this. If we come up with an idea that ties this into the Stuffyverse, I'm completely okay with that. I don't give a shit about continuity. So like if there's a Stuffy connection,
it might be fun to play with. It might be.
Oh
fun
yeah.
To play
Oh totally. Oh totally. And it's there, and that option is always there. Because like I say, the concept of world and universe and reality in my fictional videos is incredibly porous. Like if there's a good idea, I don't give a shit.
Internal consistency, Steve.
It is less important to me than it is to you. I'm like, because
we are in different I think worldviews there.
Well, because my philosophy is, especially when it comes to jokes, like if the joke is good enough, make the joke. You know what I mean? Like that's my philosophy when it comes to writing humor. And if it's like, if you come up with a great joke, but it kind of breaks the world or contradicts something that you've just make the joke.
Yeah, but Steve, who decides if the joke is good enough?
Well, if I'm writing it, I do. if you're writing it, you do, you know. I'm also, but I want to mention too, because we've talked about this, and I think we have sort of provisionally decided that our Ensign's Log live stream, our live Ensign's Log Q&A is going to be on Friday, March 5th, because next week. Next week is the third season finale of the Ensign's Log. A week from today is when.
Oh boy.
And then 2 weeks after that will be our live stream. And of course, my dear, because you are now a cast member on the Ensign's Log, you will be joining Jason and I for the live stream.
I'm super excited about
where
it.
Me and you and Jason will be on together, and it will take the place of an Ask Away. It'll be in an Ask Away, what would normally be an Ask Away time slot, and it'll be the three of us hanging out for however long and taking questions and talking about the show. And
I'm so excited about this, and I'm only a little nervous this time.
Yeah, it'll be great. So that'll be March 5th. So yeah.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah. So I think that's it.
Well, thanks everybody for coming and for hanging out with us and listening to us talk about the book and talking about the book with us and making observations and reminding us about stuff that we forgot to talk about because, and of course I will talk about food. Yeah.
You will talk about food. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, everybody.
Remember the 5th of March. That's when our live stream is.
Yes, that's when Yes, that's when our Ensign's Log.
It doesn't rhyme, but the rhythm still kind of works. remember the 5th of March. That's when the live stream is.
It has the exactly. It has the meters.
Like Some Random Geek.
Yes, thank you, Some Random Geek.
Curating those for Steve. and for all of us, really.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
They're linked in the description of the video, and it's linked in the live chat as well.
Da-da-da.
Yeah. Charitylinks.page. That is all Some Random Geeks work. He's really great about keeping that up. And yes, please be generous and help out our friends who need a helping hand by going to the charity links. All right.
I think that's it.
I think that's it. I think we're good. Thanks for watching, everybody.
And we'll see you when next we see you. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay safe, and all that good stuff.
Bye, everybody. Take care.